Early morning in Galveston, Texas. Empty shrimp ponds, tattered clam nets, and hundreds of strange blue lobsters crawling on the cold, wet sand. They don't belong here. They come from Australia, and in just one season, the alien species caused more than $6 million in damage, sending the entire Texas aquaculture industry into a tailspin. How can a tiny shrimp cause such a huge impact? What makes them reproduce so quickly, adapt so well, and get out of control? Hidden behind that sparkling green shell is a story of a silent invasion where humans and nature are facing off in an unprecedented battle for survival. Go discover. Shocking, Australian green lobster caused $6 million in damage in Texas. In the warm waters off Australia, the Australian green lobster thrives in a natural ecosystem. Weighing in at 4.4 to 11 pounds, with a metallic blue shell and powerful claws, it helps keep benthic organisms in check, keeping the reef balanced. But when they were introduced to Texas, they quickly became an ecological threat. The new environment had ideal temperatures and salinities and almost no natural predators, allowing them to reproduce explosively. Each female could lay hundreds of thousands of eggs per season. With their omnivorous and highly adaptable diet, they spread throughout shrimp ponds and clam beds, competing for food and destroying native habitats. In just one season, the damage exceeded $6 million, making this small shrimp a real nightmare for Texas. Dawn breaks on the shores of Galveston, Texas, but instead of the bustle of harvest season, there is a heavy silence. Shrimp ponds are empty, clam nets are torn, and hundreds of fishermen watch their livelihoods disappear. It wasn't storms or pollution that caused the problem, but a tiny creature from halfway around the world, the Australian green lobster. In a single season, the blue lobster caused more than $6 million in damage to the Texas aquaculture industry. They destroy shrimp ponds, tear up clam nets, and take over bottom food sources. Each mother lobster can lay hundreds of thousands of eggs, causing the population to increase exponentially. People try to collect them, but the more they collect, the more they find. An uncontrollable invasion. The result was not just the $6 million figure, but a devastated community where the hard work and sweat of hundreds of families suddenly went to waste. And the nagging question remains: how could a tiny Australian creature disrupt the Texas economy in just one season? To combat the spread of the Australian blue lobster, Texas fishermen have been forced to change the way they fish. Steel traps are placed along tidal flats and estuaries where the lobsters usually hide. The bait is fish scraps and dead clams, food that the lobsters find irresistible. At first, the hope was to reduce their numbers to protect shrimp and clam farms. But within weeks, every trap was full of green lobsters. Each lobster was large, had a hard, shiny, metallic shell, and moved extremely fast when pulled up. Fishing helps reduce their population, but it does nothing to control their reproductive rate. A single adult female can lay hundreds of thousands of eggs per season, and without natural predators, the population continues to explode. Experts warn, we can catch thousands of them every day, but if just a few clutches hatch, all the effort is gone. Controlling this invasive species is not just a matter for fishermen, but a long-term battle between humans and nature, where each lobster caught is just a small part of a never-ending battle. If you want to continue discovering the mysteries and strange stories from nature, don't forget to subscribe to the Go Discover channel so you don't miss any journey. No ships docked with a carrying an invasive species warning, and there is no clear date marking its appearance in Texas waters. Scientists can only speculate. It could be that the microscopic larvae were carried by ballast water from damaged breeding cages after a storm, or simply released accidentally by humans. Regardless of how they begin, the common thread is always a very small initial size, almost overlooked. But in a new environment without predators, populations quickly reproduce and grow exponentially. In ecology, if just one group survives long enough, the balance can be turned upside down. Every invasion begins silently like this, and by the time people realize it, it's often too late. Initially, there was no panic, just slight deviations in the numbers. Fishermen saw a slight decrease in shellfish and crab yields compared to the same period last year, not a 50% collapse, just a few percent. But in the fishing industry, small fluctuations repeated over several seasons are always a cause for concern. Familiar shellfish beds are becoming sparse. Bottom-dwelling fish are appearing less frequently, not disappearing, just quietly declining. At the same time, scientists are observing an increasing number of a strange species of lobster off the Texas coast and are beginning to warn about a new aggressive link in the ecosystem with virtually no natural predators. At that time, everything was still small, with no damage amounting to hundreds of millions of dollars, precisely at a stage where control was still feasible and costs were low. But ecological crises rarely begin with an explosion. They usually start with changes small enough for people to overlook. As control costs escalate, a question arises. If it cannot be completely eradicated, could it be turned into a resource? Many proposals have emerged encouraging commercial fishing, setting quotas, and even promoting it as a new delicacy. In theory, if each vessel catches a few hundred kilograms per trip, it would both increase fishermen's income and reduce pressure on the population. But the reality is more complex. Markets don't just form on their own because of abundant supply. Changing consumer habits takes time, marketing, and a strong distribution chain. If demand is weak, prices will plummet, and the incentive to catch fish quickly will disappear. Conversely, if the market becomes too developed, the invasive species can become a stable source of profit. In that case, economic benefits may inadvertently encourage maintaining the population at an exploitable level instead of eliminating it completely. That's the paradox. Commercial fishing can be the solution, but it can also be a double-edged sword. In nature, not every problem can be solved simply by turning it into a commodity. Every ecological crisis usually starts small. A new species emerges, a period of neglect, a direct expenditure of a few $1 million that seems like a large sum. But the most alarming figure is not fully reflected in the budget report. It lies in the dwindling yields each season, in the tons of seafood that no longer appear in the ship's hold, and in the longer, more expensive voyages required to compensate for the imbalance on the seabed. Nature is rarely silent. It always sends signals very early. The question is whether humans are quick enough to recognize them. If tomorrow a new species starts appearing at the edges of the nets, when the numbers are still small and not yet alarming, the familiar choice will reappear. Invest a few $100,000 early, or wait until the bill jumps to millions. In marine resource management, the greatest advantage is not cutting-edge technology or a huge budget, but the timing of action. Managers often cite a rule. Dealing with an outbreak can cost 10 times more than early detection. When densities are low, a few surveys and traps are sufficient. But as numbers increase exponentially, tons of biomass are added to the seabed every day. Fishermen feel this most acutely. Fewer familiar species are being pulled up in their nets. They spend more time at sea. Fuel costs are higher, but catches are decreasing. Invasive species are dangerous not because of their initial numbers, but because of their growth rate. Even a single delayed breeding season can have a completely different price to pay. A delayed response not only creates multi-million-dollar bills for the budget, but also leaves ships with empty holds and harbors quieter with the sound of fish weighing. And this scenario could repeat itself in any sea region. Nature always gives early warnings. The question is whether humans act in time. When the warning signs are small, will we invest early or wait until the bill becomes much higher? In marine management, timing is sometimes more important than any technology later on. Blue lobsters are becoming a serious ecological threat in Texas, forcing many countries to implement drastic measures such as banning transportation, increasing trapping, and controlling water sources. However, while some places consider it an invader to be eradicated, in other countries it is seen as a new resource. Taking advantage of abundant reserves, they developed a commercial harvesting chain and, in particular, boosted industrial processing, where the real value is exploited. In modern processing plants, blue lobsters are no longer processed manually in a single step, but go through a closed-loop technological chain with almost absolute precision. Right from the moment of arrival, the raw materials are fed onto an automated sorting conveyor belt using size and weight sensors, separating each marketable size in just seconds. The shrimp are then transferred through a multi-stage high-pressure washing system to remove mud, impurities, and microorganisms adhering to the shell before entering a strictly controlled heat treatment area. In the core stage, the continuous steaming lines use saturated steam to help the shrimp meat retain its natural sweetness and attractive color. This technology not only preserves the freshness of the meat's structure, but also extends its shelf life, facilitating long-distance export. For higher value products, shrimp continues to be processed through semi-automatic meat separation lines, vacuum packaging, or further processing into convenient items such as peeled shrimp meat, seasoned shrimp, or ready-to-eat foods. It is precisely the scale of mass production with a high degree of mechanization that has transformed invasive species, once considered an ecological burden, into a clearly profitable commercial value chain. However, A paradox arises from this. As industry begins to depend on this abundant resource, conservationists fear that economic incentives may inadvertently slow efforts to control the wild population. The debate thus heated up between the goal of protecting native ecosystems on one side and the multi-million-dollar economic opportunity arising from this invasive species on the other. A small species, a missed opportunity, and $6 million just to fix something that could have been prevented from the start. This isn't just about lobsters in Texas, but a reminder. Nature doesn't wait for us, and delays always come at a price. To discover more behind-the-scenes economic and environmental stories, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. As Australian blue lobsters spread, threatening native ecosystems, fishermen were forced to turn to large-scale lobster fishing to protect resources and livelihoods. On the tables of the elite in New York, Shanghai, and Seoul, lobsters have always been the ultimate symbol of luxury. But beneath that shiny red shell lies a huge pressure. Wild lobster stocks are declining at an unprecedented rate. Overfishing and climate change have turned once rich seas into endangered zones where humans can no longer rely on nature as they once did. To feed the world's thirst for luxury, modern industrial farms have emerged as a survival solution. But unlike salmon or prawns, lobsters are finicky creatures, requiring a perfectly stable environment, long cycles, and a farming process so complex that even the slightest deviation can cause the entire system to collapse. In such a scenario, harvesting at the right time can mean the difference between life and death. A delay of just a few days, a sudden storm, a small temperature fluctuation can wipe out a batch of lobsters worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's why the race to catch 10,000 lobsters before the storm is like a $400,000 life or death battle. Every race starts small, a single egg lying quietly at the bottom of an incubator tank. In modern coastal farms, healthy female shrimp are carefully selected and fed a special diet to induce reproduction at the right time, not according to natural laws, but according to a human-prescribed schedule. Thanks to precise thermostat technology, spawning can be controlled down to the hour. The eggs are incubated in the perfect environment with temperatures of 24 to 28 degrees Celsius, oxygen and water cleanliness constantly monitored. Over 60 demanding days, the larvae molt multiple times, transforming from fragile biodots into hardy shrimp, ready for the big sea. At this stage, mistakes mean disaster, because each survivor is one of 10,000 targets that must be met before the storm hits. Precise biotechnology is the only thing that can turn a small risk into a real profit. A few nautical miles offshore, lobster cages look like floating fortresses, operating silently day and night. Each cage is about 2 square meters wide, reinforced with super durable steel frames, storm buoys, and specialized nets, strong enough to withstand waves as high as the roof. When first stocked, each cage contains 250 juvenile shrimp, but to ensure space, oxygen, and optimal growth rate, that number is gradually reduced to 50 adults, the last survivors before harvest day. Underwater, cameras and sensors work tirelessly, measuring salinity, oxygen, currents, all vital signs. Even the slightest change in data can provide a warning before a storm is even seen on radar. Lobsters are finicky omnivores, requiring a protein-rich diet of trash fish and mollusks. On large farms, AI coordinates feeding according to weight, growth rate, and molting cycle. On average, daily rations account for 15 to 20% of body weight, strictly limited to prevent contamination and disease. Not stopping there, vitamins, minerals, and trace elements are added to the diet to increase shell gloss, firmness of the meat, and resistance to weather fluctuations. In the race against time and storms, each gram of feed not only feeds large shrimp, but also feeds the value of each kilogram of millions of dollars out at sea. The storm is closing in, and the clock is ticking. At an offshore lobster farm just a few miles from shore, the entire system is on alert. Warnings are blaring in the wind as the sky turns leaden gray. A battle for survival is about to begin. With more than 10,000 lobsters due for harvest, this is no longer a routine process. It's a high-speed operation where every minute of delay means tens of thousands of dollars lost in the waves. Everyone is working under the pressure of a tightrope in a storm. On the black rolling sea, specialized cage tugboats dart like steel arrows through the white foam. Each cage, weighing hundreds of kilograms, is hoisted out of the water by a crane, brimming with adult lobsters, their steel-red shells reflecting the lightning of the early storm season. These tanks are not just storage facilities, but mobile biosafety rooms where temperature and oxygen are tightly controlled, helping the shrimp avoid shock and preserve the sweetness of fresh meat before the journey to shore. The atmosphere was tense. Every move had to be precise. A single gust of wind could capsize the ship. A sudden eddy could toss the entire system. This was a time when seafaring allowed no room for error. Each timely harvested shrimp is not only a commodity, but also a symbol of the resilience and bravery of humans, those who dare to challenge nature to regain every moment of survival. On the thin line between success and total loss, the entire farm operates like a perfect machine, where people, technology, and the sea are in harmony in the final race to the death before the storm hits with irresistible force. When the last boat reached the dock just before the storm, the race was not over. It was about to get more intense. On shore, the wind began to howl through the warehouse, and below deck, crates of live lobsters slapped the water as if they too could feel the ocean's fierce breath approaching. Each crate of lobster is rushed into a coastal cold storage facility where time and temperature are the deciding factor. Inside, the process operates like a perfect machine. The lobsters are washed in sterilized seawater, sorted by size, then steamed to lock in the sweetness, or vacuum-packed and frozen at -40 degrees Celsius in just minutes, preserving every fiber of the ocean's succulent muscle. Under the cold white lights of the factory, every step takes place with absolute precision. Automatic sensors monitor every movement, while employees in full protective suits move as fast as a countdown clock, not allowing a single second to be wasted because every minute of delay can reduce the freshness of the shrimp. Random samples are tested on site, measuring pH, meat elasticity, and post-transport survival rates, all to meet the most stringent standards from the world's leading import markets. Outside, the logistics team operates like a Swiss machine, each shipment sealed with a QR code and temperature monitored continuously all the way from the coast to the airport warehouse. The storm was approaching, but inside the cold storage and specialized trucks, the lobsters remained in perfect condition, as if they had just been fished from the bottom of the ocean. This was not just a supply chain, but an ecosystem that operated with precision down to the second, where each lobster was part of a $1-million ecosystem game, protected by technology, people, and a fierce will to conquer nature. The lobsters that meet export standards, shiny shells, even claws, no cracks, are kept alive by advanced oxygen technology in specialized tanks. From there, they are transported directly to 5-star restaurants in Tokyo, Shanghai, New York, where diners are willing to spend hundreds of dollars just to enjoy a plate of fresh, storm-proof seafood, both a dish and a human achievement against nature. For large farms, the rewards are worth every drop of sweat. Thanks to contracts with high-end restaurant chains, a single well-timed harvest can bring in $400,000 just before the first wind blows across the ocean, marking a triumph of strategy, speed, and daring. In the hands of famous chefs, lobster is elevated to culinary masterpieces, from seductive champagne-steamed lobster, fragrant French garlic butter-grilled lobster, to European-style bisque soup with the rich flavor of the ocean. Each dish is not only a display of technique, but also a declaration of sophistication and class. On a silver-plated banquet table, a portion of lobster costs from several hundred to thousands of dollars, depending on the level of restaurant and preparation. Each cut, each aroma, is a moment of luxury measured in money. For diners, this is not just a meal, it is the ultimate luxury experience. Each piece of sweet, succulent meat is the crystallization of the ocean, modern preservation technology, and culinary quintessence. Lobster, not just a delicacy, but a symbol of a modern coastal industry, where people, nature, and technology operate in a delicate balance between danger and prosperity. As the storm approached, farmers had just 48 hours to harvest more than 10,000 shrimp worth $400,000. Delays meant not just a lost crop, but a total loss. In the race against the ocean, each shrimp that reached safe harbor was living proof of human intelligence, bravery, and desire to conquer nature. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to continue the journey to discover the majestic stories from the ocean, where every wave contains a survival legend and dramatic million-dollar races. After World War II, when Japan rose from the ruins, the fishing industry became one of the most important economic pillars. With more than 10 million tons of fish caught each year, Japan is not only the leading producer, but also the country that shapes the world seafood market. In the 1980s, Japan's fishing industry reached its peak, with modern fishing boats setting sail every day, bringing back treasures from the vast ocean. But, as if by some inevitable fate, Japan's population is aging rapidly, and the generation of seafarers is gradually disappearing. While the old fishermen cannot continue, the young people are not interested in fishing. As the fishing industry struggles to maintain its workforce, a wave of technological innovation has arrived. Companies like Maruha Nichiro and Nippon Suisan are no longer looking back, but are instead starting to put robots on board. Robots never get tired, don't get seasick, and can work 24 hours a day in the middle of the ocean. While humans used to struggle with the rough waves, steel machines now do the hardest work for them. Some people argue that this is a betrayal of the past, that replacing fishermen with robots is a betrayal of the core values of the profession, the dexterity and meticulousness that only human hands can do. On the contrary, technology not only helps reduce the burden of labor, but is also the only way for the Japanese fishing industry to survive in the future. But one thing is undeniable, that technology has changed the face of the Japanese fishing industry forever. Dawn over the Pacific Ocean, golden light shimmering through the rippling waves, reflecting off the shiny steel deck. During the day, robotic arms reach out into the open sea, rhythmically catching fish in the brilliant sunlight. When night falls, they continue to work in the cold light of halogen lamps, precise and silent movements in the vast, dark sea. Gone are the days of fishermen holding fishing rods or pulling nets. Instead, there's a new generation of fishing boats where technology never sleeps, and ocean life operates 24 hours a day. AI sonar systems and thermal cameras detect and track schools of squid and tuna moving on the seabed, even at depths of hundreds of feet. Data from the sonar is transmitted directly to the control center on the mothership, where technicians monitor and analyze the mining situation. Every movement is perfectly synchronized, leaving no room for error. When a target is detected, the ship immediately mobilizes the robotic arms to drop the net precisely at the calculated coordinates, avoiding mistakes, catching the wrong species, or harming the ecosystem. As the nets are pulled up from the deep sea, the tuna and squid lie still in the cold water. The whole process happens quickly, without a single second of delay. A single ship can handle up to 100 tons of fish per day. This enormous speed helps the Japanese seafood industry process billions of squid and tuna every year, with exports reaching more than 70 countries around the world. Never before has the seafood industry been able to maintain such a scale and speed. However, the rapid development of this technology is not without its critics. Have we gone too far, completely replacing humans with machines? Some argue that using robots to catch billions of fish and squid could destroy the connection between humans and the sea, leaving traditional fishermen feeling erased. They fear that one day this technology will lead to a decline in product quality due to lack of skilled human hands, and uncontrolled exploitation could put marine ecosystems at risk of destruction. And in the freezing cold of the ocean, when robots work tirelessly. Is this a sustainable solution for the seafood industry, or will it be an environmental disaster in the future? In the middle of the ocean, robots do the work for humans. But on land, the true value of each fish is still determined by the eyes and experience of the workers. At Tokyo's famous tuna market, as dawn breaks, the air is heated by an iconic Japanese ritual, the tuna auction. Under the neon lights reflecting off the cold ice, giant tuna weighing more than 400 pounds lie still, glittering like precious silver blocks. They are caught by offshore robots, gutted and frozen in the middle of the ocean before being transported here in near-perfect condition. When the whistle blows, sushi masters, high-end restaurateurs, and international investors, from Tokyo to New York, from Paris to Singapore, come in. They use flashlights to examine each piece of meat, feeling the firmness of the muscles, the color of the fat, and the delicate aroma that only fresh premium tuna has. Each nod, each frown can change the value by hundreds of thousands of dollars. The tuna caught by robots are now not just a product of technology, but also a testament to the magical intersection of tradition and modernity, where the spirit of the Japanese fisherman is still there, just fueled by the power of machines and artificial intelligence. The metal door of the processing plant opened. Inside was a cold and quiet space where each machine worked non-stop. As tuna and squid from the ocean were brought in, now they face a race against time where every minute determines the quality of the final product. Robots are the tireless craftsmen. With a precise gesture, they quickly gutted the squid, skinned it, and cut off its tentacles with laser precision, leaving not a single squid behind. Meanwhile, the heavy tuna were gutted, filleted, and cut into sashimi-grade cubes in just 40 seconds, a speed that humans could not keep up with. Everything takes place in a -76°F cold storage facility, a highly sophisticated cold storage system designed to maintain absolute freshness. An AI grading system inspects each block of fish, analyzing fat, meat color, and automatically sorts them into A, B, C grades for export. This is not just the work of a machine, but a complete automation system where technology and the ocean work together to deliver the best product. Stable storage temperatures below -58°F help preserve the fish's excellent color and flavor until it reaches consumers in major cities like Tokyo, Paris, or New York. Some argue that mechanization of all processing steps will create a disconnect between humans and the ocean, leading to a homogenized and unnatural product. They fear that the marine environment will be overexploited without the strict controls that have been in place in the past. However, this is the only solution for the seafood industry to survive and develop sustainably in today's era, helping to reduce labor costs and increase production efficiency while still ensuring product quality. Will robots completely replace humans in this job in the future, or will they just be a supporting part in maintaining the survival of Japan's seafood industry? After being processed at -76°F, the journey of tuna and squid is not over. From coastal factories, they are immediately transferred into ultra-cold logistics systems, headed straight to Tokyo, where the taste of the ocean is transformed into culinary art. Here, tuna is prepared into perfect sashimi slices, each a combination of precise technique and ocean flavor. From sushi, maguro donburi to premium sashimi, Japanese tuna has become a global culinary icon. Fresh squid is thinly sliced and used for giant squid sashimi, a sweet, slightly crunchy flavor served with soy sauce and fresh wasabi. The head and tentacles are grilled over hot coals to make shiojaki grilled squid, and when the skin touches the fire, the charred skin releases a rich aroma that fills the air. Today, 70% of Japan's tuna is exported to the US, Europe, and China, contributing more than $12 billion to the country's economy each year. A piece of the ocean's robotic technology now lands on the dinner tables of millions of people. But in the future, when technology gradually replaces human work, will tuna and squid dishes still retain their traditional flavor and characteristics as before? Sunset over the Pacific Ocean, golden rays of light reflected on the calm sea surface. Robot ships were moving slowly, like nameless machines, gently gliding through the waves. With the rapid development of technology, Japan not only wants to exploit the ocean, but also wants to protect it. One of the ambitious experiments is AI to control the exploitation limit, to avoid overfishing and ensure the balance of the marine ecosystem. The latest robots not only know how to catch fish, but also have the ability to identify baby fish, corals, or sea turtles, and automatically stop catching if they detect unwanted animals, protecting biodiversity under the ocean. Japan aims for zero-waste fishing by 2035, a bold vision of completely eliminating waste and ensuring a sustainable ocean for future generations. When humans and machines share the ocean, a new chapter of Japan's marine history is beginning. However, can technology really sustain the ocean? Or as robots increasingly replace humans, will the ocean become a giant industry, no longer retaining the spirit of the ocean as before? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other interesting discoveries about the world around us. Along the brackish swamps of the northeastern United States, there is a small creature that generates an industry worth hundreds of millions of dollars annually. That is the blue crab. With its iridescent green shell and two incredibly sharp and strong claws, this crab can move surprisingly quickly beneath the mud and seagrass of estuaries. They live in the transitional zone between saltwater and freshwater, a constantly changing environment that not many seafood species can adapt to. But it is precisely this adaptation that has made them one of the most sought-after seafood species in North America. Each fishing season, millions of crabs are brought ashore to supply high-end seafood restaurants, where a single plate of fresh crab can sell for surprisingly high prices. And behind that seemingly simple dish lies an underwater hunt where speed, skill, and timing determine the value of each trap pulled up from the bottom of the lagoon. Before the first crab is pulled aboard, a crucial process begins early in the morning. On fishing vessels hundreds of feet long, fishermen prepare hundreds of steel crab traps, each weighing up to 660 to 880 pounds. These traps are connected to buoy lines several miles long, forming a system that extends deep along the seabed. But the deciding factor in the success or failure of the entire trip lies within each trap: the bait. Often just cheap fish or leftover fish from processing plants, but when dropped into cold water, their scent can travel far downstream, attracting crabs from dozens of yards or even further. If the wrong bait is chosen or the traps are placed in the wrong locations, hundreds of traps can be pulled up completely empty, turning many days at sea into an expensive gamble. Each trap gradually sinks into the icy water, marked by a small buoy floating on the surface. But what few realize is that a vast network is forming beneath the water's surface. During a fishing trip, fishermen can deploy hundreds, even thousands of traps, spread across kilometers of the seabed. Each trap is like a gamble with the ocean. Inside is bait, outside is the darkness dozens of meters deep. After the last trap disappeared beneath the water's surface, the ship had only one thing to do: wait. Sometimes 12 hours, sometimes 24 hours, before they returned to pull them up and examine whether the steel traps were full of crabs or completely empty. After hours of waiting in the cold water, the decisive moment finally arrived. The ship turned back towards the buoys bobbing on the surface of the sea, and the hydraulic winches began to roar. Each steel trap, weighing hundreds of kilograms, was pulled from the deep seabed onto the ship's deck. No one knew exactly what was inside until the trap flapped open. Sometimes there were only a few scattered crabs. But sometimes an entire trap can contain dozens of large crabs crawling on top of each other, creating a catch worth hundreds of dollars in just minutes. And once the trap is on deck, everything has to happen extremely quickly. Fishermen only have a few dozen seconds to sort the crabs, keeping the standard ones and releasing the smaller ones back into the sea. If they are slow, the crabs can die from stress, pinch each other, or even escape from the boat. In this race against time, each trap is not just a yield, it is the result of hours of labor and a reward that the ocean decides to give or take away. As soon as the steel traps were pulled onto the deck, the next step began almost immediately. Dozens of live crabs poured out of each trap, their claws clattering against each other in the cold sea breeze. The fishermen quickly set about sorting the crabs. The male crabs were kept, the female crabs were released back into the sea, and those that were too small were immediately returned to the ocean to continue their growth cycle. Everything happens at an incredible speed. During a single workday, a ship might have to process thousands of live crabs, each one inspected, measured, and decided upon in a matter of seconds. On the cold, wet deck, amidst the sound of waves and clashing metal, every movement must be precise, because only the crabs that meet the standards can continue their journey to become one of the most expensive seafoods in the ocean. In just a few hours, thousands of pounds of crab are loaded onto refrigerated trucks, beginning their journey to seafood processing plants. Here, each crab is sorted, weighed, and quality checked. Some will be sold live right at the seafood market, but the largest ones, sometimes weighing 4 to 6 pounds each, are selected for a more valuable journey. They continue to travel hundreds of miles in refrigerated transport, appearing on the tables of high-end seafood restaurants where a plate of crab can sell for hundreds of dollars. From the frigid depths of the ocean to a luxurious menu, each crab has traversed a massive shipping and trading chain, a journey worth millions of dollars that most diners never see behind their dish. On the market, these crabs could generate around $600,000 in value, making these heavy steel traps one of the ocean's most lucrative investments. But behind that $500,000 figure is no luck. It represents weeks of continuous work, with fishermen starting before dawn, casting and pulling traps for hours on the cold, wet deck, and only finishing when the sun has set below the horizon. Each crab brought aboard is not just a catch, but the result of hundreds of traps, thousands of hours of labor, and a long gamble with the ocean. On the dining table, a plate of steamed crab looks simple, but behind that red shell lies a long journey that few people see. These crabs begin their lives in shallow lagoons, then are sought after in vast stretches of water spanning kilometers, where fishermen must set hundreds of traps and wait for hours. Each fishing trip can last from 12 to 24 hours of continuous work in cold winds, rough seas, and with heavy steel traps weighing hundreds of kilograms having to be pulled up one by one. It's a harsh, risky job that demands incredible endurance. Yet, this very fishing has sustained thousands of coastal families for generations, transforming the ocean not just into a source of livelihood, but an inseparable part of their lives. The ocean always hides stories that we rarely see. Behind every crab, every ship returning with a full hold, are hours of arduous labor, towering waves, and people willing to gamble with the sea to make a living. If you want to continue exploring the little-known worlds behind the fishing industry and the true stories unfolding at sea, subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss the next journeys. In Asia, crab has long been one of the most economically valuable seafoods. From China and Japan to Korea and Singapore, crab is a common item on the menus of upscale restaurants and is always sought after by diners. Species like mud crabs can weigh from 1 to 2 kilograms each, with thick, sweet, and protein-rich meat. This unique flavor is what makes the market price of these crabs fluctuate from several hundred thousand to nearly 1 million Vietnamese dong per kilogram, depending on size and quality. The high economic value has led many coastal farmers to switch to crab farming instead of familiar species like shrimp or fish. However, traditional crab farming methods are not easy. Most farms are located in coastal swamps or mangrove forests, areas vulnerable to heavy rains, storm surges, environmental changes, or disease outbreaks. Even a small change in water conditions can cause an entire crop to fail. But in other parts of Asia, farmers have found a completely different way to raise these crustaceans, a simpler, more stable method that is, surprisingly, far more effective. In Panjin City, Liaoning Province, in northeastern China, rice paddies stretch to the horizon. But beneath the shallow waters of these fields, not only are rice plants thriving, but millions of crabs also live there. The model of raising crabs in rice paddies has become a unique agricultural system in this region. Currently, more than 10,000 farmers are applying this integrated farming method. According to statistics from China's agricultural sector, Panjin produces approximately 700,000 tons of rice annually and harvests about 75,000 tons of crab, generating revenue of billions of yuan. This success stems not only from its economic value, but is also considered a prime example of a sustainable agricultural model. What makes this model special is its incredible simplicity. Farmers don't need to build large ponds or complex technical systems. They simply dig a few small ditches or create depressions in the rice fields to provide shelter for the crabs, then release the crablings at the beginning of the season. After that, most of the process is left to nature. Beneath the shallow water of the rice paddies, crabs move slowly, searching for natural food sources such as insects, algae, and weeds. These organisms, which are usually harmful to rice plants, now become a source of nutrition for the crabs. Conversely, as the rice grows, its lush green foliage provides shade over the water surface, helping to maintain a stable temperature and protecting the crabs from harsh sunlight and predators. These two completely different organisms, rice and crab, support each other almost perfectly within this system. The rice growing cycle typically lasts about 3 to 4 months, and coincidentally, that's also the time it takes for crabs to reach marketable size. When harvest season arrives, farmers harvest the rice first, then gradually drain the water from the fields. When the water level drops, the crabs begin to emerge. Harvesting must be done very carefully. Farmers usually catch them one by hand or use specialized tongs to avoid breaking their claws or legs. On average, each rice paddy can yield about 100 kilograms of crabs, equivalent to thousands of crabs. This means that on the same plot of land, farmers can harvest both rice and crabs. One paddy, but two sources of income. This model also offers an unexpected benefit. Because crabs are very sensitive to chemicals, farmers are forced to minimize the use of pesticides and chemical fertilizers. As a result, the entire field is cultivated almost naturally, producing high-quality rice that can be sold at a better price on the market. Meanwhile, the crabs raised in this natural environment also become a sought-after delicacy. Every autumn, hairy crabs from the Panjin region are transported to upscale restaurants in Shanghai, Beijing, and Guangzhou, where they can be sold for anywhere from 1 to several million Vietnamese dong per kilogram. However, traditional crab farming still has many limitations. Farms often require very large areas and are highly dependent on weather and natural conditions. In addition, crabs are highly territorial, so when raised together, they are prone to fighting and even cannibalism. Therefore, in many ponds, the mortality rate of crabs can reach 30 to 40%, becoming a major risk for farmers. But in recent years, a bold idea has emerged and begun to completely change the way humans raise these crustaceans. Around 2018, some farmers in Southeast Asia began experimenting with a method of raising crabs that was completely different from traditional pond farming. Instead of releasing many of them together in a large body of water, they separated each mud crab and raised them individually in plastic boxes. Each breeding box typically measures approximately 40 by 60 centimeters. Inside, a thin layer of mud and a few centimeters of salt water are prepared to create an environment similar to the natural habitat. From these enclosed farms, the crabs are transported to seafood markets or high-end restaurants, completing their journey from a small-scale experiment to a modern and efficient aquaculture method. After months of being raised in the farm system, the mature crabs begin to be harvested and brought to market. They are carefully selected according to size and quality, then transported to seafood markets, restaurants, and supermarkets. Thanks to being raised in a well-controlled environment, these crabs are usually meaty, full of roe, and retain a rich flavor, making them a sought-after seafood delicacy among diners. From traditional rice paddies in China to modern factory-like crab farms, the crab farming industry is proving that agriculture can always adapt and innovate. If you find these discovery stories fascinating, don't forget to subscribe to the Go Discover channel, turn on notifications, and join us on our journeys of exploring the world full of surprises ahead. Their hunting ability requires almost no chasing power. With just a strong inhale, the giant water current pulls the prey straight into their mouth. It is this extraordinary strength and size that makes them legendary in the underwater world. Florida is not only famous for its sunshine and beaches, it is also a center for both commercial and sport fishing of grouper. Every year, tens of thousands of tourists flock here just to try their hand at one-on-one battle with these giants. In Florida, grouper is more than just a fish. It's a part of the culture, a source of pride, and an economic resource worth hundreds of thousands of dollars each season. A treasure the ocean has given this land. But those values do not come easily. Behind every giant grouper are challenging encounters where human strength is pushed to the limit. And today's journey to discover the top 5 begins with local fishermen, people who have spent their whole lives at sea. For them, grouper is not only a commercial product, but also a testament to the skills and experience accumulated over many generations. A successful catch can determine the income of the whole week. And then the fateful moment came. A giant grouper took the bait, turning the small boat into a battlefield. The pull from the depths was so strong that it seemed as if it could capsize the boat. This is no ordinary fishing match. It is a test of strength between a man and one of the most powerful fish in the ocean. The fight can last for tens of minutes, where every breath is heavy as an endurance contest. The final victory belongs to man, but not without a price. The angler's arms were tired, and the boat was filled with seawater. But the moment you see the giant fish splashing around on the deck of the boat, worth thousands of dollars, is enough to make all the effort worthwhile. But it is not always necessary to go far out to sea to encounter giant groupers. There are encounters that take place close to shore, so unexpected that they turn an ordinary day into an unforgettable memory. A giant Goliath grouper appeared right under the bridge. At first, everyone thought it was just a normal big fish, but the terrible pulling force immediately showed that this was a completely different opponent. In an instant, a relaxing fishing session turned into a real battle. Without any professional equipment, just a small rod and patience, the group faced the enormous power from the depths. Besides diving directly to the seabed to catch fish, many fishermen also use another equally popular method, fishing for grouper. Grouper are predatory fish that live mainly near the seabed, often hiding in rocky crevices, coral reefs, or areas with rugged terrain underwater. Therefore, the fishing method is specially designed to bring the bait down close to the bottom, right where the grouper is lying in wait. Fishermen usually use very strong fishing lines and large hooks because grouper have a very strong pulling force. The bait is usually small fish, shrimp, or live squid, as their natural movements will attract the grouper from its rocky hiding places to attack. When the fish bites the hook, a fierce struggle can ensue. The grouper's instinct is to immediately dart back into the rocky crevices to hide, so the angler must react quickly, pulling the line decisively to get the fish off the seabed before it gets trapped in the reef. Compared to diving, fishing for grouper is less dangerous because fishermen don't have to go deep underwater. However, this method still requires a lot of experience, from choosing the right location with many reefs, determining the appropriate depth, to knowing how to sense the signal when a fish bites the hook. It is this patience and understanding of the habits of this fish species that has helped many fishermen catch large groupers right in the middle of the ocean. As soon as the fish are brought aboard, the clock almost starts ticking. Their body temperature rises above the preservation environment, enzymes immediately become active, and the quality of the meat changes minute by minute. If not processed correctly, the meat will lose its firmness and color, leading to a significant difference in selling price. Therefore, all operations must be quick and precise. The fish is bled immediately to preserve the fresh color of the flesh and reduce the fishy taste, then rapidly cooled to the optimal temperature. Each step has a scientific basis, from controlling bacteria to preserving the muscle structure. In the market, the same species of fish, of the same size, but processed differently, can have vastly different prices. The value lies not only in catching the fish, but in the first few minutes after it leaves the ocean, where a technical decision on the rocking deck of the ship can determine the entire profit of the trip. After being properly processed and chilled, the fishing trip enters the crucial stage: sorting and pricing. Large, perfectly shaped fish are transported directly to high-end restaurants, where each kilogram can fetch the highest price. Batches meeting export standards are packaged separately, targeting Asian markets with stringent quality and freshness requirements. The remainder, which are smaller in size or appearance, will go into the domestic wholesale channel. Not all 6 tons of fish sell at the same price. Right at the sorting table, each fish is routed to a different revenue stream, and it is this sorting process that optimizes the profit of the entire fishing trip. The $1.5 million figure didn't appear by chance. It was formed from the average price per pound multiplied by total production, plus restaurant contracts and high-end export shipments. On paper, the revenue picture looks very impressive, but behind that number are a host of deductions. Fuel for long voyages, diving equipment and vessel maintenance costs, risk insurance, and wages for the entire operating crew. Therefore, $1.5 million is revenue, not the entire actual profit remaining after the voyage. Even with a successful catch, the industry operates on a foundation of constant risk. Weather can deteriorate in just hours. Fishing quotas can be tightened seasonally. Market prices can drop just as the goods arrive. And underwater, scuba diving accidents are a variable that should never be taken lightly. This profession is not only dangerous at depths of tens of meters, but also subject to intense market fluctuations above the water's surface. Six tons of grouper, $1.5 million, dozens of dives to the seabed. It sounds like a story about yield, but in reality, the money wasn't just lying underwater. It lies in the legal right to exploit resources, in the skill of the diver, in the supply chain behind it, and in the ability to control risks at every stage of operation. And the original question remains, are you willing to dive into the coral trench to activate an entire $1.5 million system? Six tons of grouper, dozens of deep dives into the dark, cold coral reefs. $1.5 million doesn't lie at the bottom of the sea. It belongs to those brave enough to bring it back to the surface. If you want to continue exploring challenging yet valuable professions like these, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. There are many more incredible stories to come. Alaska, a vast wilderness spanning over 1.7 million square kilometers, where nature remains almost untouched. Thousands of rivers and streams intertwine like a giant bloodstream, flowing from the high mountains to the Pacific Ocean, sustaining a magnificent ecosystem. Along the water's edge, grizzly bears stalk their prey. High above, bald eagles soar, and beneath the forest canopy, wolves and otters move silently. All exist in perfect balance. And then, when the time comes, from offshore, millions of salmon turn around simultaneously, not to escape, but to return, beginning one of nature's most spectacular journeys. The extraordinary journey of the salmon doesn't begin in the ocean, but in the tranquil waters of freshwater. In small streams, where the water is only a few degrees Celsius, thousands of salmon eggs hatch, and tiny creatures just a few centimeters long begin their lives. But the amazing thing is that from that very moment, a biological map has already been programmed into their bodies, even if it means swimming far out to sea, thousands of kilometers. Having grown up in a completely different environment, the salmon are still able to return, the exact river where they were born. It's not just a life cycle, but one of nature's most wondrous navigational journeys, where each fish carries within itself an invisible compass that humans have yet to fully decipher. Leaving their familiar river, the small salmon embark on a journey in which few creatures can survive intact. They swam out into the ocean and entered a vast, sprawling world, thousands of kilometers, where everything is faster, bigger, and more dangerous. In an environment rich in food, salmon can grow at an incredible rate, gained weight many times over in just a few months. But the price to pay is always being hunted. From large predatory fish, seal up to sudden temperature changes that can cause entire herds to disappear overnight. This is the crucial stage where each salmon must gamble between rapid growth and the risk of becoming prey at any moment. When schools of salmon begin approaching the Alaskan coast, the entire fishing industry immediately enters a massive race. From small harbors to large fleets, hundreds of ships simultaneously set sail, carrying with them the hope of securing a share of the profits in a short season lasting only a few weeks. This is no longer a routine fishing activity, but a race against time and precision. On the ship's deck, nets hundreds of meters long are prepared, along with winches, radar, and positioning equipment to track the movement of the fish schools in real time. Everything has to be perfectly coordinated because when the signal comes, even a few minutes delay can cause the entire school of fish to disappear.
Chum salmon. Working good now.
The captain must make almost instantaneous decisions. Cast the net in the right place at the right time, or miss an opportunity worth tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars.
They get the rest of the 50 cents that we actually are getting now. Thank you, Lord, that they are.
In the same sea area, dozens of ships operate in parallel, creating a dense battlefield where all eyes are fixed on the water's surface and navigation screens. But what makes this race so harsh is not just the competition, but also the uncertainty of the ocean. Some days the nets are pulled up heavy with tons of salmon, but other days, after hours adrift, all that remains is empty space. Because fish don't wait, currents don't stand still, and opportunities only appear in fleeting moments. In this game, victory doesn't belong to the strongest, but to the fastest, the most accurate, and sometimes the luckiest. As soon as they are brought ashore, the race against time immediately begins, but this time it takes place inside the processing plant. Batches of fresh salmon are quickly transferred to a closed processing line where every step is optimized to take place in the shortest possible time. Here, each fish is passed through an automated sorting system, weighed and quality checked using modern sensors. Afterwards, they are cleaned with high-pressure water, removing impurities before being transferred to the filleting stage. Sharp industrial blades precisely cut each piece of meat, ensuring the structure is preserved and minimizing waste. The entire process takes place in a strictly controlled environment, with the temperature maintained close to 0.32 degrees Fahrenheit to maintain maximum freshness and prevent bacterial growth. Immediately after filleting, the fish is placed in a quick freezing or vacuum packing system, which helps to lock in the flavor and quality as if it had just left the ocean. During peak days, a factory can process tens of thousands of fish every day. This results in a variety of product lines: whole fresh fish, premium fillets, or frozen products that meet export standards. Within just a few hours of arriving, these products were ready to leave the factory. From there, they are transported by refrigerated trucks and airplanes, traveling thousands of kilometers to appear on supermarket shelves and dinner tables around the world, often just days after swimming in the ocean. Few people know that behind a piece of salmon on the dinner table lies a long journey, thousands of kilometers and many years of growth. A salmon begins in a small river, drifts out into the vast ocean, grows up amidst countless predators, then turns back upstream, overcoming obstacles, hundreds of kilometers to return to the place where it was born. On that journey, most will never reach their destination, and those that survive eventually enter another life cycle, becoming a food source for humans. It's not just a story about survival, but a closed cycle where nature and humanity are intertwined through every journey, every wave, and every meal that we often take for granted. A journey spanning thousands of kilometers, ending in just a few minutes at the dinner table. If you want to discover more hidden stories behind the ocean and harsh, little-known professions, subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss the next videos. With a population of over 1.4 billion, food security in China is not just a challenge, it's a matter of survival. As agricultural land per capita shrinks, while food demand continues to rise, traditional farming methods are gradually reaching their limits. Instead of continuing to expand in the familiar way, they chose a different path, redefining what is considered worth raising. No longer focused on resource-intensive farming models, like cattle or chickens, a new industry is emerging where small, often overlooked creatures become central to economic value. This is not just a change in production, but a change in mindset. When the water level is lowered at precisely the right time, what appears to be a chaotic process actually operates with near-perfect precision. The fish are confined to a small space, the nets are lowered, and in a short time the yield can reach hundreds of tons. But what is noteworthy is not the volume of the harvest, but the nature of the system behind it. The subject here is the carp, a species considered invasive in the U.S., causing significant damage to the ecosystem. However, from another perspective in China, this very fish has become the centerpiece of a multi-billion-dollar industry. There, fishing no longer depends on luck. Water levels, timing, and procedures are all calculated in advance, turning nature into an integral part of the operating system. This is no longer simply fishing, but a harvesting process that is programmed by nature. And that's what creates the paradox. What was once considered a disaster can become a huge source of profit if people know how to exploit it. In this world, value isn't always found in what's easily visible. Sometimes it's hidden deep within things that are almost invisible. Sea cucumbers are a clear example, a soft, boneless creature that quietly exists on the seabed and is hardly impressive at first glance. But once it's brought up and goes through the processing, it can lose up to 90% of its weight after drying. The remaining part, small and condensed, is worth many times more than the original. It's as if the whole process wasn't about loss, but about distillation retaining only the most essential elements. This illustrates a simple yet often overlooked truth. Value lies not in quantity or appearance, but in what is refined and preserved. And it is at this point that another paradox emerges. If sea cucumbers represent a value that is hidden and only revealed after processing, then scorpions go in the complete opposite direction, where value does not come from refinement, but from their inherently dangerous nature. In these farms, thousands of scorpions are raised under strictly controlled conditions because even a small mistake in temperature density or food source can cause the entire colony to be wiped out in a short time. However, it is precisely this element of risk that creates extremely high economic value. Scorpion venom used in medical and pharmaceutical research can fetch prices of thousands of dollars per gram, among the most expensive biological substances in the world. And that's the core paradox. The more dangerous something is, the more profitable it becomes. In a tightly controlled system, risk does not disappear. It is transformed into profit, where value no longer lies in the nature of the organism, but in how humans exploit and control it. Here, agriculture is no longer a series of isolated activities, but operates like a machine, a living machine, where every movement is calculated and repeated with high precision. With crayfish, the entire system is built on a nearly perfect cycle. Drop the traps into the water, wait for the right moment, harvest, and immediately repeat the cycle. There is no randomness, no room for subjective judgment. Hundreds, even thousands of mining sites are monitored simultaneously, each trap becoming a data point in a vast network. Operators don't just catch fish, they coordinate an entire system where time, location, and density are synchronized for maximum efficiency. A vast body of water thus ceases to be purely natural, but becomes a harvesting system programmed according to biological rhythms. And it is here that the deciding factor is no longer luck, but the precision of the cycle, where a single misstep can alter the entire effect. This is not simply exploitation, but control and optimization of nature on a large scale. The true scale only becomes apparent when looking at the industrial level of the livestock industry. Every year, billions of ducks are raised in modern facilities where every movement is no longer random, but is directed and tightly controlled, almost like a giant production line. From hatching and nurturing to transportation and processing, everything is organized into a continuous flow where each stage follows the next with high precision, minimizing disruption and waste. Each individual animal is not just a pet, but part of an overall operating system where growth rate, density, and harvest time are all calculated for optimal performance. Space, temperature, light, nutrients, all are controlled as variables in a larger problem with the sole objective of creating stable yields and maximum value. And it is here that the line becomes clear. This is no longer livestock farming in the traditional sense, but a bioindustrial system where life is organized, routed, and operated like a factory where every movement serves a single goal, maximizing efficiency and value. At this level, agriculture is no longer about nurturing, but about controlling life down to the smallest detail. Take the frog as an example, a seemingly simple species, but extremely sensitive to its environment. Just a few degrees of temperature deviation, slight changes in humidity, or disturbance in the environment can cause the entire system to collapse in a short period of time. Therefore, in the farms, every factor must be maintained almost perfectly, from temperature and humidity to environmental stability. There is no room for error because even a small deviation can render an entire farming cycle lasting months useless. If frogs represent fragility, then silkworms are a symbol of near-perfect precision. In strictly controlled environments, thousands of silkworms work continuously with a single task: creating cocoons. And from that simple act, each individual can produce a thread more than a kilometer long. When millions of silkworms work together, the result is not just silk, but the foundation of a global industry, where these almost invisible fibers become high-value products appearing in fashion medicine and technology. This is the intersection of biology and industry, where from tiny organisms, humans build multi-billion-dollar systems that operate with near absolute precision control and optimization. And looking back at the entire journey from scorpions, fish, silkworms to frogs, one thing becomes clear: no creature is truly useless. Only the systems haven't been efficient enough to exploit their value. A scorpion can yield high value from its venom. A fish species considered invasive can still generate significant profits, and a tiny silkworm can become the foundation of an entire industry. The value lies not in the organism itself, but in how humans perceive and organize the systems around it. That is also the core of modern agriculture. It's not just about land or machinery, but about mindset. The ability to transform the most ordinary things into the most valuable resources. And if you think you understand agriculture, perhaps this is just the beginning. Amidst the brilliant coral reef that resembles an underground city, a giant quietly crawls by. Napoleon wrasse, the largest coral fish on the planet. With a body length exceeding 2 meters, a weight of nearly 200 kilograms, and a lifespan of more than 30 years, it is not just a creature, but a living treasure of the coral reef. But what makes the Napoleon wrasse truly special is not its strength or size, but its important ecological role. It is the gatekeeper of the ocean. Only this species dares to confront the stingray starfish, a predator capable of destroying coral reefs in a matter of months. Each time it appears, the Napoleon wrasse is like a silent warrior, maintaining the ecological balance for millions of creatures living in the reef. However, the stunning beauty and rarity turned into a curse. Napoleon wrasse became a sought-after target because of its high commercial value and reputation as the emperor of the sea. The giant fish that once swam leisurely among the reefs now faced nets and traps scattered across the deep sea. The throne of the Sea King was now just a piece of coral that witnessed the devastation. In a world where every species plays a role in survival, losing the Napoleon wrasse isn't just losing a fish, it's losing the last protector of the reef, an alarming scenario for the entire marine ecosystem. On a remote reef, a Napoleon wrasse wriggles in the deep blue light, but thousands of nautical miles to the east, its identical silhouette is held in a glass tank, with a price tag of $500 on the electronic board. In Chinese cuisine, Napoleon fish is considered a power food. The rarer it is, the more expensive it is. An adult can sell for up to $1,200, appearing at luxurious banquets as a symbol of class. In Southeast Asia, that amount of money is enough to feed an entire family of fishermen, prompting them to disregard the ban and hunt. The more it is banned, the higher the price, and each fish caught means another part of the coral reef disappears. From an ocean symbol, the Napoleon wrasse has become a luxury item, expensive, rare, and bloody. In the middle of the tropical sea of Southeast Asia, old wooden boats still silently cut through the waves in the dark night. Not for ordinary fishing, but for an adventurous hunt, hunting Napoleon wrasse, the giant and rarest creature of the coral reef. Fishermen use special nets or dive deep with oxygen tanks, weaving through the crevices of coral reefs where Napoleon wriggles often hide. Flashlights sweep across the deep blue water, reflecting off the iridescent scales of the coral king. With just one sweep of the net or one precise spear shot, they can earn a few $100s, an amount equal to a month's labor. However, each time they cast their nets, it was a gamble of life and death. Many had to dive deeper than 984 feet, enduring the terrible pressure of the water and the risk of suffocation. Some never returned just because of a fish worth $500. Napoleon fishing is no longer a profession, but a game for desperate people caught between poverty and prohibition. Each drop of the net into the deep sea not only takes away a rare creature, but also gradually sucks the last breath of the coral reefs, the soul of the ocean. As the giant Napoleon fish were brought ashore, the entire seaside market seemed to come alive. Fishermen quickly washed the fish with seawater, their shiny knives skillfully cutting through the thick, firm, and clear-as-a-gem meat. The salty smell of the sea mixed with the sound of knives and chopping boards. The bustling sales calls create a bustling picture typical of the coastal region. The fish meat is thinly sliced for high-class seafood restaurants. The head and bones are used by people to make soup, a rich, sweet broth that only Napoleon fish has. Every step, from the fisherman's hands to the small fire in the market, contains respect for the king of the sea, a precious gift given by the ocean. In the Wakatobi Islands, Indonesia, a place once famous for hunting Napoleon wrasse, is now a symbol of change. The fishermen of the past have become diving guides, taking tourists to explore the coral reefs and admire the fish they once hunted. Thanks to conservation programs, hundreds of people have been trained in new professions, from coral reef technicians to marine tourism specialists. One fish in the wild now has more sustainable value than 100 captured ones. The old fishing villages have become eco-tourism spots where children learn about the ocean and draw Napoleon fish as a source of pride for their hometown. Each time a fish is released into the sea, the locals call it the Ocean Release Ceremony, a reminder that saving the fish is also saving their own future. Each fish is worth $500. But the price the ocean pays is immeasurable. Each lost creature is a reminder of the ocean's memory, a reminder of human greed. Sign up for Go Discover to explore the stories hidden deep below the surface, where the ocean still whispers lessons for humanity.